Good
Okay.
evening. Good evening. Welcome to Detroit Black and White, our Wednesday evening edition. We thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. Listen, all of the co-hosts are on deck. Allan and I are going to take the first half hour, and then the other people are going to come on. You know who the other people are. That would be Adolph Mongo and Jim Nardone. But right now, who we have is Eastside Allan Lengel, Deadline Detroit, former and still contributes to the Washington Post, I believe, right?
I
And
have.
I guess we found you because last week I put out an APB. I was like, "Where is Eastside Al?"
I was getting some sunshine.
Hey, you see my earrings? You see these earrings? You see what it says?
Oh wow.
East
East
side.
Side.
The real deal.
Listen,
The real
I'm
deal.
through and through. I lived on the east side as well as the west side, so I have
Right.
both. I represent Detroit.
All right.
Before we get started and talk to our most esteemed guest, Mr. Calvin Tolbert, I want to give a shout out to those that are joining us this evening. Mr. 1213, Duela Boyce, Hazel Park Taekwondo. What's up, Hazel Park Taekwondo? Stephanie Jackson. Listen. If you're joining us, you are welcome to join us in the chat. You know what you can do. You can also use this QR code. Use your phone, take that camera, and come on into the room. We want you to like, subscribe, and share. To subscribe to this show is, guess what? Free. Like, subscribe, and share. All right. Okay. We have Mr. Calvin Tolbert. I'm going to let Kevin introduce himself. He is no stranger to the Detroit and Black and White family. As a matter of fact, we believe he is family. We call him fam. Good evening, Kevin. How are you?
Good. How are you? I thought I was gonna give one of those fantastic like Reverend Wendell Anthony introductions where you like, but I guess I'm not there. I gotta keep grinding in life.
Go ahead, tell our guests.
We could get you applause. How's it?
Well, my name's Kevin Tolbert. I am have had many roles over the years. Currently, I work at the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. I'm the chief of staff. I'm also the chair of the 12th Congressional District Democrats, and I'm also a vice president at the Detroit branch of the NAACP.
Well,
All right.
Credentials there.
Yes.
Hey, but I didn't include I was a father of 3 sons too. Very important.
Oh,
three sons. I have a 30-year-old and a grandfather of 1.5. I'm climbing a half because we're about 5 more months before the other one gets here.
Okay,
So
awesome. Congratulations. It's wonderful to be a G parent. I'm a G parent. 2 boys, 2 grandsons. I can't get a girl in my life to save my soul, but whatever. Okay. Allan, you want to start off by asking our guests questions?
Yeah, sure, Kevin. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. So you've been the chief of staff for how long now?
I don't hear Allan.
Okay. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Vanessa?
I can hear you well. Can you hear us, Kevin?
Can you hear?
I can hear you a little. I can hear you, but I can't hear Allan.
Huh.
Okay. So Allan asked you, how long have you been the chief of staff for the Wayne County Sheriff?
We're on 9 months.
9 months. Okay. Can you hear me? Maybe is it still not hearing me? Maybe
I'm still not getting Allan.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure
weird.
why.
All right. I'll ask one more question and then maybe. Obviously, Ross Jones had a report last night talking about Erica Erickson, who's now works for WDIV. She was the communications director from November 2021 to October 2022.
You guys there? Did I lose you?
Can you hear it?
So I can hear you, Allan. He can't hear us. So I'll ask the question.
Yeah.
The question is, Allan is talking about the report that came out on WXYZ TV, I think at Channel 7 News, and it's about the sheriff Erica Erickson. Erickson. There was a recording of the chief, and I don't know what else you were going to ask.
Here, I'll ask. Is that she originally?
I hate we have to go through a translator.
Yeah, I feel like it's Too bad. But anyway, she recorded Ray Washington, but she also recorded Mike Turner, who was then the chief of staff. And I'm going to read.
You're going to
Kevin's
repeat
not
it for
gonna be able to hear it, but you'll.
He said Erica Erickson recorded Raphael Washington as well as Mike Turner, and he wants to read what
I'll read you what Mike Turner said.
what Mike Turner said.
And this is a private recording in June 24th, 2022. And it says, Ray has long been a womanizer, and he makes me uncomfortable with the relationships he's had around here with two people in particular that have accused him of some shit. And then he goes on to say he can't help himself. I shouldn't say, and then he says, I shouldn't say that. I keep telling him those words are not acceptable anymore in the workplace.
So what he's asking you about is in the recording, you have Mr. Turner saying that Raphael is a womanizer, that something about, or I think interaction with two people on the job. He's told him about that. He also has warned him and said that kind of behavior in this day and age, I'm paraphrasing, Allan.
Yeah,
Acceptable. And I think he even used the SHIT word. Did I capsulize?
Yeah. I mean, basically, she was saying that he says, I keep telling him those words are not acceptable anymore, and we've heard it from other people too who know Ray, and Ray's a good guy, but there are these allegations, and so I don't know if you can convey that. I feel like. Go ahead.
So, Kevin, you want to respond to that?
Well, about him being a womanizer?
About him being a womanizer, the recording, his co-worker, very close years, said that he was a womanizer, and that Eric Erickson said that basically his behavior was inappropriate, as well as Mr. Turner, who indicated that his behavior was inappropriate, especially in this day and age. He should not be acting that way and saying those kind of things. What do you?
Yeah, well, a few things. Let's start sort of back up here. There was a lawsuit that was filed by another employee alleging some claims that at this point, as evidenced by our filing to ask the judge to dismiss the case, we felt are not supported in evidence. And that filing went forth, and which triggered all this, which, we were aware that this would be triggered. In order for us to file and ask for that, we had to provide the depositions and provide the proof that we feel that the other side hadn't supported the claim. And so, at that point, our biggest focus has been this lawsuit and things that were occurring there, because as it was stated in the WXYZ episode, that there was a fee that taxpayers are paying. And so in our minds, whenever you're an elected official, whenever you're a leader of an organization, you can incur a lawsuit. In my previous experience in other places, we went through these type of allegations all the time. Allegations don't equate to being guilty of a crime. As it relates to Mr. Turner's comments and his previous nature, and even with Erica Erickson and the salacious charges that were filed, we were informed, and I've been informed in speaking with our legal team, that Ms. Erickson wasn't even interested in being a part of a suit. I believe she left us after 3 incidents that were natures that were mentioned in the deposition and in the filing. So now to hear that there's a desire, or saying that there was a sexual harassment thing, she never actually filed an official complaint. And the question becomes, does that email equate to an official complaint? We have some documentation and some things that we'll be willing to share soon. Currently, we're not saying much about that documentation, but our team does feel that she was given ample opportunity before the meeting that was discussed and captured through a secret recording to deal with those things, and even during the meeting, and they felt that the meeting ended with everybody on the same accord. So our assertion of that meeting and the things that happened in that meeting is clearly different than the piecemeal one that people heard that was put in the report. That being said, we're not here to attack anyone else or go after anyone else. Our job here is to ensure that, that we had the case, and we hope that the case moves like we think it will through the system and be adjudicated properly and come to a successful conclusion on behalf of the citizens of Wayne County and the sheriff. We don't believe that there's evidence to support that. And that's where we've been with that. As it relates to Mr. Turner and his assertion and back and forth during witness testimony, when asked about it, he said one thing. Now we hear a recording where he says something different. And then there's been opportunities where there different things are said. That is the same role that I currently hold today. And I will tell you that all I will say is that it's probably very hard to do this job, manage egos and manage opinions. And I wasn't there, so I can't speak to what happened between those two and their nature. But I will tell you this again, we have a hard time. We have a hard time if any time, people make an allegation and then we just assume that they're always true just because they're allegations. So 6 people, the way that story was pictured, saying 6 people. Yeah, that's a heck of a thing. And I'll say this, I see your question, Allan, but let me just say this. 43 years he's been a police official. In those 43 years, he hasn't been wrote up. He hasn't been reprimanded. Not one public review board, not one ethics board. No third party has ever came and said these were issues, and they were investigated. Some were investigated, some were charged and removed. And so we have to be careful in America here. Because if we say that you're going to say that a person's been charged with something and that means they're automatically guilty, then, that's not the rule of law that we prescribe by. Isn't that right, Attorney Moss?
Okay.
That is correct. Listen, we have some people in the chat, and I think we have somebody that's trying to come on, Mr.
Yeah. Can I ask Kevin, can you hear me? Can you still not hear me, or?
Allan's got a question.
Yeah. Let me. I just want to clarify, if you can clarify with him. Are you saying that has he not been ever guilty? And I don't want to use the word guilty because it's not. These are civil matters, anyways. They're not. It's not criminal. But has he not said inappropriate things? Because I have heard from other people who have not made allegations, but other people who know Ray, who have made the similar allegations of him saying inappropriate things to women. And are you saying that none of this is true? That he's not done that? And Vanessa, if you could.
Okay, so can I paraphrase?
Yeah, sure.
Allan is saying that, look, there are 6 people, but basically where there's smoke, there's fire. How is it you can say that there's basically
well,
no.
Well, let me. No, I want to.
So you said 6 people where there's smoke, there's fire.
I don't care about.
I think in a few
hold
things
on,
we have.
Hold on, Allan.
Yeah.
Start again.
I'm sorry.
Start again.
Okay. I regardless of the 6 people, I'm saying there are other people out there who have said they've seen Ray's behavior with women and where he's said inappropriate things. And so is he saying, I just want to lay on the record, is he saying that all these allegations that Erica Erickson's making, that the other woman is making are not true?
He's asking, is Ray saying that these other allegations, there were people outside of the lawsuit that said that they have heard Ray speak basically inappropriately to people and say these things. Is he saying that all of these things are not true?
I think we've answered that question through the deposition filing. Well, first and foremost, I don't think a situation that occurred in the Detroit Police Department investigated back in 2001 and found without merit should even be a part of this discussion. Family matters between families going through situations that none of us were there for. In of itself, an allegation that someone said something about them peeping a window or whatever else. Again, that in of itself is not equated to being in what that report said and the news said and what the articles are alleging, which is a repeating of a report that was done by the same reporter a few years back, in which he said that Mr. Washington, Sheriff Washington, was peeping in a window, and as a result, the police department looked at it, and there was something that occurred. You know what happened? Detroit Police Department investigated it, and they found that it was unfounded. So that part wasn't reported. And so if you say that every time, and I'm telling you from someone who's worked in, in the union and worked on both sides of HR, if every time we said somebody was guilty of something they were accused of, and we disciplined them, we wrote them up, we terminated them, we fired them, we'd have all kind of problems. It just doesn't work that way. And so I hear what you're saying there, but I don't think that is a fair assertion. We do know that there was a settled lawsuit and between the two employees in which a settlement was paid out. But we also know in settlements, there's no admission of guilt either way. And so what we're doing today is we're taking that and then we're saying, okay, that proves it. And every other allegation in of itself says that that's the case. Again, we know we have a lawsuit now. We have no evidence to support that right now. So that's number one. In this instance here with with Erica Erickson, this is a salacious news story. It's like, oh my God, look at all this stuff going on. You got secret recordings and you have all these things. But again, it's our assertion that their recordings were cherry picked, and the things that were played on a 4-minute news segment were, of course, the most salacious details. And the things that were left out are things that would paint a totally different picture. And so, I know that there was a Mike Turner recording, but that's not the one I'm speaking of right now.
Allan, hold on. We got to cut we have to cut.
Okay. And I'm going to pop out and try and get back in to see if he can hear me. So.
Okay. And then I have some questions that I want to ask too. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. Detroit Black and White. Jeez.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White. Our Wednesday evening edition, we have Mr. Kevin Tolbert, who is the Chief of Staff for Chief Raphael Washington. Allan was asking some questions, but before we get to you, Allan, I want to give a shout out to the people who are watching the show and making comments. We wouldn't have a show if we didn't have these people watching us. So Dominique Richmond, good evening. Mr. Duckett, good evening. Cynthia Johnson, Tamika Rainey, Tamiria Kimmett, Stephanie Jackson. She does have a comment. She said, the lack of evidence does not equate to innocence. Deborah Harris says, hello, good people. She's had a medical condition. She's just watching today. Queen B points out that taxpayers are getting effed, yet Raphael is still trying. That's crazy. A lot of people are upset that the taxpayers are on the hook for paying these this lawyer's bill for this lawsuit. We also have Queen B, who's joined us. We have Marlon Holt. We also have DeWayla Boyce, Mr. Duckett, Tamiria Kimmett. She says scandal has always followed Sheriff Washington from day one. He needs to be fired. Tamiria Kimmett says, where's the smoke? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And so I just want to acknowledge that. Allan has a question, and if you can respond to some.
Just one. Kevin, can you still not hear me? Or
yes, I can. That's much better.
Excellent. We've got connects Houston. We've got left off. All right. So one last question I just wanted to ask is, like, I obviously, look, the lawsuit, they've thrown in the kitchen sink there. They've got everything, all allegations from a long, long time ago. And we talk about, the peeping Tom thing and stuff. It does seem excessive, but I think they're piling on that. But the question becomes, he's been accused of this type of behavior, and when Mike Turner, who's his chief of staff, which is what the position you now hold, when he says to Erica, he says he can't help himself, and I shouldn't say that. I keep telling him those words are not acceptable anymore in the workplace. He is not talking about all the, everything that's been thrown into the lawsuit, but he's talking about race behavior. And so my question is that not an accurate statement that Mike Turner made? That would be my question. So.
I can't speak to the accuracy of Mike Turner's statement, but what I can tell you is this. First of all, the first we heard of these recordings were when this reporting was being put together. And of course, we did not. It's kind of hard to hear. Someone's breathing. I'm not sure who that is. But the first we heard of it is when the report was being put together, and it was mentioned by the reporter that he had some recordings, still not knowing what those were. But nevertheless, the recordings were released in the news report, and we heard them. People are entitled to opinions, but opinions are not equated to fact. And I mean, I know that we all can see things and we can make up opinions, but I've learned this even since I've been a reserve sheriff for 14 years almost now. And even before, and I got into this because then Sheriff Benny Napoleon asked me to learn from the other side. And I will tell you my assertion of things that I believe when I was doing police brutality rallies and when I was out here, marching and protesting and wearing my protect your neck shirt because cops were doing things and I was really against it. Then I learned from another side, and I recognized one very important piece, and I'm going to keep coming back to that. We have to use the law to let it dictate how we make our minds up. And many of us, when we use opinions and when we see a soundbite on news and we hear a clip and we say that that's fact because someone said that, things that would not even be admissible in court, things that would not be able to be used in court, we have to be careful about that. And that's really just our opinion on that. I mean, yeah, we heard what Mr. Turner said. We understand how it sounds, but we also know we have other information that something completely different was said with all four people in the room. And
Have you never heard those allegations before? I mean,
which ones?
The allegations that Ray may be saying inappropriate things. And I'm talking aside from the lawsuits, knowing Ray and being in the community there. Have you heard those allegations?
In my experience, and I've been there 9 months and I've known Sheriff Washington even before he was sheriff. I hadn't seen that behavior. And so, no, I was not around like someone is saying. And whoever says I'm just in there to collect the check, you're far from wrong. I have a retirement pension and I live very comfortably, and I'm working here because I wanted to come and solve problems. So I know people, again, you think you know people and you know what they're doing. You can't tell from a soundbite. One of my favorite new songs is a guy from Detroit named Payroll. And you know what it says? I make money and mind my business. Because a lot of times people think we know exactly what's going on with people and we have no idea. So I'm not here to just give a broad-based blanket. Let me just say this last thing. I'm not here to just brush over everything that occurred in that lawsuit or everything. I'm the chief of staff and I took this role very seriously. And that means I'm there to take care of people and take care of staff. And I do my very best to do that. And I think what we're doing right now is making sure that things are handled correctly. And I think if things were handled correctly, and we might not be in this position. And what I mean by that is things that I'll speak more about in the upcoming weeks. But we did not do some things that would have put us in a better position. So, are there things that the Wayne County Sheriff Office needs to do better? Absolutely. Are there things that does that mean that the allegations alleged against Sheriff Washington are, quoting Payroll Giovanni, but does that mean that the things against Mr. Washington are all 100% correct? No. And in fact, we stand by, there's no proof to support any of these allegations that they have put out. They don't have evidence to support them. A question was asked in the chat. I want to answer really quick. It said, did they investigate the thing that happened at the Detroit Police Department where it was put into the report? Yes, they did. And it was also dismissed and found without merit, because you can allege anything anywhere, any of us can, but you got to have proof to support it.
Okay, we have our guest. Thank you so much for using that QR code and joining us, Dorian. I'm glad to finally see your face. Do you have a question for our guest?
I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Well, one, Mr. Tolbert, apparently you should run for sheriff. I would definitely vote for you because you already got the experience. You're already doing the job in 9 months. Even though you've known Ray for a minute, like you said before, you haven't seen any of it, and it's just an accusation. But once again, we don't need any questionable behavior even thrown at a person to be the sheriff, or even if he's guilty or not guilty of it, it's just still an accusation. But it's just it's perception over reality. You know what I'm saying? What we see, what citizens see. Channel 7 is notorious for going after politicians, but are you willing to run to be the sheriff? Because I don't see no future for Ray Washington going forward with this going on.
I didn't come to this office because I was trying to replace the sheriff or move ahead or anyone else. It's no secret that I love politics, and I've been involved in politics for a long time. And there might become a day and time that I do run for a position. At this time, I'm completely focused on coming here to solve problems. I had several other job offers in front of me. I chose this one because I saw that there were problems, and I wanted to know that I could be a part of solving them. A lot of people run for offices and they have no clue on how they're going to solve any problem. They barely even know how to get elected. I know that from being on the 12th district side. And so I don't want to ever hold an office just so it strokes my ego or it makes me feel good. I want to solve problems. I want to create efficiency. I will tell you, in government, it takes forever to do everything. It's not that way in the private sector. We touch documents 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 times. And so my frustration has been making these things better. But I'll tell you this, it is Sheriff Ray Washington who brought me here. It is Sheriff Ray Washington who's given me autonomy, the freedom, the ability, who's Sheriff Ray Washington who shared his dreams with me for the agency and allowed me to be able to bring about executing them. It is our decision that, that the voters ultimately decide this. We don't believe there's anything that's going to happen in the next, in this lawsuit that's going to come out to be settled against him. We don't believe that the outcome will be negative towards the citizens of Wayne County. There's no evidence that it has been presented. So at this point, we think this is the end of the road for the lawsuit. And we think that the Ira Todd, if that's the real Ira Todd, that's a legend. That's a legend in the comments. Ira Todd, you shouldn't even be asking me that question. You can teach a class. Don't be asking me those kind of questions, Ira Todd. I've known your name forever. I have a lot of respect for you, sir, and what you do. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to point the finger at the chief of staff. I'm pointing the finger collectively that there were things we should have documented, and we didn't document better. And that's what you have to do. You have to document things that you're doing, ways that you're moving. And let me say this, and it's probably time to say this, and this probably be the first time anybody knows this. It is our team's assertion, I wasn't there, I can only speak about it, that ample opportunity had been presented to Erica Erickson to open a sexual harassment investigation before that meeting occurred. Ample opportunity had been given. I don't mean she could have filed it anywhere. People checked with her, sat down and had conversations with her and asked her, what do you want to do?
But I think that, let me say, at least what she did was she did complain to the chief of staff, and then she did have the meeting where she did raise the issue of sexual harassment.
You skipped a step. You skipped a step.
Yeah,
See,
ahead.
that's what I'm saying. So
Sure.
remember, I'm giving you the things you don't know.
All right,
and
go
so
for it.
What you do know is what you've seen in the reporting, in
Sure.
which she sent an email, and an email occurred. But what was missing between there was a meeting took place, and she was offered an opportunity to open a sexual harassment investigation. And
But
we
does
have proof
that
of
matter?
and
That
we have proof of that. If you deny opening an investigation and you say you don't want to open an investigation, but this is after your email, and you say you don't want to open an email investigation, and then you have a meeting in which you all heard about 30 to 45 seconds of that meeting, then there's something else that's not in there. And you
but
guys need to hear that part first.
can
So
I
I
just play
think
devil's advocate here? If
Sure.
I'm in a workplace and I have a problem with my boss,
Not at all, Ramona.
I may go directly to my boss and not want to take it further and go to HR and file complaints, but I want to
You-
voice, and that it seems like that's what Erica Erickson was doing. Is she wanted to voice her opinion, but she didn't want to make
You're
take it
correct,
to
Allan.
their own
So
scale.
so let me just say this. When a person says or makes an allegation and says, I think XYZ is happening. And so the first thing to do is for someone to come to that person, if you brought it to him and say, okay, I got your email, and I'm not sure, are you saying this is a problem? Do you want to open an investigation? Not her boss. Wasn't her boss that she's had this meeting with. And she said no. And also, in that same meeting, it was talked about, and she denied that that was her intention in that meeting. You all heard this much, but there's this much. That was a 50-minute meeting. You only heard about 45 to 50 seconds of it. So
well, let
stay
me
tuned.
say
So
this.
stay tuned is all we can say.
This is what I feel about the whole media thing. They take snippets out because they want to get people's reaction. They want it's salacious. People are talking about it all over the city of Detroit. But like you said, because I'm a lawyer, there's always a huge picture. Now, whatever that picture looks like, that's what it looks like. But there's always more to the story. Our guest has one more question, and then Dorian, we're going to have Adolph is going to join us. So go ahead and ask your next question.
Well, like once again, once there's smoke, there's some fire, and he has somewhat of a track record of suspicious behavior. Now, I'm like I said before, as a voter, as a citizen of Wayne County, and a taxpayer, by the way, $130,000 to defend someone that's already has went through this is not um, is not conducive to what we expect as a sheriff of the county.
So
And and Officer Tolbert, because look, that's how what I know him as, Officer Tolbert, from the Detroit Police Department. You only been on the job for 9 months. How long has she had been on the job, and how long this had occurred? That's my second question. How long did this take place, and what do you know personally? And when it, like, if she accused, and she's saying that she went to a chief of staff, wouldn't that be you
Yeah, no. So a couple
or
things.
underling?
Yeah, these what occurred you're talking about occurred in 2022. And I believe she was there for almost a year. And I think she got hired during the pandemic. So most of her experience was working from home. They didn't have a ton of interaction. And so the things that are being alleged there, again, we gotta always look at the facts. Here's the truth we gotta remember. None of us, outside of the people who are really interested in this, are going to pick up this 160-page filing, read through the whole deposition, look at his answers as an attorney would do, put them up on the board, compare her to hers, and then go through what all the charges are and bring them down, unless we're perhaps a journalist looking to tell a story or whatever else. So very few people
Well,
are going to do that. Well,
a
hear me
person
out.
like Allen would do something like that.
Yeah,
He's a
exactly. I was just
journalist.
going to say we rely
maybe,
upon the media to do that. We rely upon media,
Right.
attorneys, like we rely on those people. So, and then we turn on the news and we wait for someone to give us that opinion. And I'm not here to attack the media. I'm not here to attack the journalists or anything else. But what I am saying is that if you look at what has been presented through depositions, not what the media narrative has been right now, if you look at that, you will see a much more balanced side of what's been presented. And you're not hearing that. You're not hearing that when asked, Miss Erickson said, yes, he did offer me to stay in my room, but you know what? He offered it to his security as well. And you know what? He also said, use it during the day when I'm not there. If you've ever been to Mackinac at the policy conference, which most people have not been, very expensive to go to that conference, not something most citizens are going to go to. Many of the principals, meaning the elected officials, they get those hotel rooms on the island. Very hard to even get a room. And so if you have to catch a ferry to get back across the water to go to your room, it is not some nefarious, oh my God, I want you to come into my room to say, use my room if you need to, because it was offered. And here's the piece that's not missing. That's right here. She used the room. She used the room. So she used the room during the daytime when he wasn't there. What's being reported was like, oh, baby, come stay in my room at night. And that's not what you see in the depositions. So to answer your question, I wasn't there. No, she did not report it to me. It's the previous chief of staff. She sent, according to the document, she sent an email to.
Okay, so listen, I have been trained to let people finish their thoughts, but we have a limited time. Dorian, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Adolph and Jim Nardone will be joining Detroit in Black and White. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Kevin, how you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
All right. I have a question. All this shit that done come out, how has that affected some of the stuff that the sheriff has been doing out in the community?
Well, listen, you have to do a job every day. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is the men and the women who work in our agency, who are there doing their job still, protecting citizens in terms of, that jail has to be maintained 24/7, rain, shine, sleet, or snow. Our officers have to show up and make sure that we are holding some of the most dangerous criminals in Wayne County until their trial is taking place. So people are still doing their jobs. The sheriff is busy about ensuring those things are taking place. And I told you when this thing started that the sheriff does not walk around and he's not hiding from events, and he doesn't not go places. He's as many places as he always is. Our community engagement team is everywhere that we can be, whether we're in Inkster, whether we're in downriver communities such as, Brownstown, Taylor. And so we're still pushing forward because we got a very aggressive agenda. And I want to just say this. The sheriff has laid out an opportunity for us to be one of the safest counties in the whole country. The Detroit police did a fantastic job by building their real crime center. Okay. And we are moving through a plan to build upon that. You see Dearborn, and they add in their drone cameras. So we got some things in the works to really take advantage of that. I tell you, people committing crimes in the city of Detroit, I don't know why Detroit police doesn't talk about this more. You committing a crime in the city of Detroit, you are going to get caught fast because of the system of cameras and flock cameras. And so we want to build upon that, and the sheriff is turning that loose. We have done an amazing job in the last year or so. Last year, we hired 163 officers. At one time, our agency was down 400 officers. Sheriff Washington did that. And so people don't give him credit for it because they probably don't know. He walked into an agency down 400 officers. We're losing. I looked at some data today because of retirement and ability to be able to retain employees. We're losing 40, 50, 60 officers a year. So we have to hire at a very high rate, and we're doing that. And so now we're up to a really large number. We don't have staffing emergencies in the jail anymore. We have to do it with our certified officers a little more, but not in as much as we were, which is cutting down on overtime. Maybe you've seen an article in the paper, which was, we thought, horribly headlined. It was headlined and said, Kim Worthy's office is investigating the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, and they stuck the sheriff's picture up there. The sheriff picked up the phone and called Kim Worthy and asked her team to look into it. How do I know? I was sitting right there after our team looked into it, because Wayne County requires that the public integrity unit takes a look at anything that could be potentially criminal. So she's not, and then we know, again, I'm not nitpicking the media. We know that the media has a job to do and the headline is factually correct, but it gives the impression that, oh my God, now the Wayne County prosecutor's looking at the sheriff and his activities. No, he called the Wayne County prosecutor and said, we have a list of names we need to look into to ensure they're correct. I know I'm giving long answers. I'm sounding like a politician. Last thing, really quick. Went to a major county sheriff's conference. Sheriffs from all over the country there, all from the major counties. Started Googling the different people I met. Man, all the sheriffs and all kind of people were having all kind of lawsuits alleged against them. Everybody had stuff going on. Law enforcement is tough work. It's just tough. And you're going to have some enemies. You're going to have some things going on. And it's not an easy task. So there we go.
Can I say something? First of all, I want to thank you for coming on. I know it's, answering the questions. I appreciate this. I was going to say, as far as when you see stories either on TV or in the newspaper, if you think they're unfair, I for one like to hear. I tell people, you think I did something unfair, whatever, call me out on it. I want to hear it. And I that's my advice to you. If somebody's doing something that's inaccurate or misleading, you should call them up and say, look, I think this is unfair, and put them on notice that you're, that's my.
We did. We did.
Yeah.
We asked them to, and they said they're going to stand by their headline, and that's no problem. I mean, I think we have a right to say what we think too.
Sure.
And we're in today's world, right, where people will say be quiet, and not comment. But our president, he doesn't prescribe by that, right? And so, I'm seeing a lot of comments that people are saying we're victim blaming and we're victim shaming and we're attacking victims. And when a person makes a complaint, they have to at least put it and say, hey, I want to file a complaint. And so if someone says, no, I don't want to file a complaint, after saying, yes, I do want to file a complaint, all you really can do is accept what they tell you. And again, it's a lot of naysayers now saying what they think to know to be true. I really think they'll change their mind next week.
Well, if Ray was one of those people and your office one of those offices that just stay silent, the press will beat up on you. And, if you talk, you get beat up on. So, you got to defend yourself. When you think some of this stuff is going to be or go away?
Yeah, so we filed for the disposition. The plaintiff side asked for more time to continue filing their response. We know that's common in the system. And so, she has time, and then the judge can take, as much time as they need to make a determination on whether they're going to honor our motion or continue on with the trial. So
who's the judge?
Her name is it escapes me right now. But yeah, I don't have it here in front of me. Okay.
Well, we're gonna have to bring you back, Kevin. You got some fans out there.
Well, it's all things, even this. I mean, like you just said specifically, Adolph, like people are saying you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. And someone says, oh, he wants a political job. I could have ran for office a long time ago. I'm 52 years old. Since I was 20, people have asked me to run for office. I don't want a political job. I want to be a part of a system solving problems where many people need the paycheck. Again, I was fortunate. I worked 30 years for UAW and Ford Motor Company. I got 2 pensions, and I'm one of the last people who got lifetime health care. I didn't come to the county because I came here looking for a job. I could have stayed at home on my couch, relaxing, doing nothing, and traveling. I chose to be a part of this, and it ain't for what people would normally say. I chose to be a part because it's a lot of problems. And what are you going to do with the rest of your life, right? Sit at home, or you going to solve problems? And that's what I chose to do.
You got a question, Vanessa, and then we'll let
Jim actually had a question, so I wanted to make sure because Jim hasn't said anything. So Jim,
hi, Jim.
Good evening, Mr. Tolbert. Thank you for having the courage to come on and face some of these challenges. So I wanted to talk. I just wanted to, if you would just stand by, I want to pay tribute to the men and women that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year go to work for the Wayne County Sheriff's Office and protect the citizens, whether it's Marine Division, whether it's in the jail, whether it's out on patrol. I saw a county car today on my way home from the gym, and I thought about that officer out there by himself. So thank you for the men and women, but I want to pay tribute to our guests, our friends out there. Deborah Harris, I hope you get better. Queen Bee, Stephanie, Tamari, Tamika, Cynthia, Mr. Duckett, Dominique, Marlon, Tracy, Hazel Park Taekwondo, Mr. 1213, Ira Todd, who is a legend in policing, Dwayla, Janet Saluk, Miss Sheila, Mr. Duckett, Par Oars, Janet Overall, Angela Beatty, Ramona Joyce Prater. Cornelius Jones made a comment that I don't necessarily agree with, but he's entitled to it, and we appreciate it. Again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the men and women. I think we lose track when bad things happen. We lose track of what's really going on out there in law enforcement. And I spent almost 28 years, and I was a police chief, so I understand about lawsuits, right? I've seen lawsuits. I also looking at some of the young ladies on our show that are saying, you know, they feel like some of these things are never addressed, right? Sexual harassment. And, you know, 40 years ago, it was way worse than it is now. I'm not making excuses for anybody.
How you
I
know?
don't have any facts. I don't have any facts other than what I see, as you said, snippets. And I understand how the media works. But I just want to say thank you for coming on. Thank you to the men and women that do the job every day.
Well,
Yep, you doubled down on that. And again, I'm going to say this. I've got a chance even before as a reserve, but even now as a full-time person to walk around, to engage, to listen, to talk to people. This is not easy work, okay? Walking through a jail cell will take your energy and spirit away from you, because I don't care who you are, you're seeing humans being caged. And you don't walk away feeling good. Yet we have people who go in there every day and they try their best to do their jobs professionally, with class, with integrity, and do it to the best of their ability. And that's all we can ask for, you know, and you want people to do this in a great way. The sheriff said something to me when I started, and we mean that. Look, right now, you know, yeah, it looks bad. People are looking at this stuff saying all these things are true. But at the end of the day, when this thing is adjudicated, we think in the sheriff's favor, then what will we say? And you know, the court exists for a reason. Law exists for a reason. We have a system to mitigate these things for a reason. And when you've been presented an opportunity to deal with it, we spent all this time in the last few weeks talking about someone who did not file a lawsuit, who is not a party to this lawsuit. And we said very little even tonight about the person who did file the lawsuit and about what occurred in that lawsuit and why we asked for the dismissal. And I think that was the goal, and why this salacious part has been told, because it sounds very, you know, I mean, this is almost like, you know, it's just really
well,
great
you got
TV.
a media personality and you got a sheriff. It makes good copy, you know, and there it is. Somebody that worked for you, somebody that people saw on TV every day. And I think she's still, Allan, is she still working?
WDIV.
Okay, so she went from 2 to DIV, so she's high profile. So that's the story.
Well, let me
Vanessa,
I'm going to say this about this whole lawsuit thing. I just found it very interesting that the former chief of staff was engaged in a relationship with the person that's filed the lawsuit. And I mean, if that is not an issue, I don't know what is. I mean, they admitted that they had been in a relationship, and not throwing no shade. He left. He left. He retired, and nobody's talking about that, because for me, I'm like, okay, he's having a relationship with a subordinate. People don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't care that they're consenting adults. They're both working at the same place. He's in a position of authority, but people aren't talking about that. I'll just leave it right there.
Well, I agree with you on that. That's an issue, and it's an inappropriate relationship, but it doesn't negate Yeah,
No,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying he got out of it. I think it's very interesting that nobody's talking about that. And I'm not throwing shade on him. It is what it is. That's what it says.
You throwing shade on it.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
It is what it is. No, it's
you throwing shade.
black and white.
Okay, it is. But Kevin, thanks, man, for coming on. To have you back again, and we want the sheriff to come back on.
You know, the sheriff was here last week. The sheriff has been here before. The sheriff will come back again, and the sheriff will love to tell as much as he can tell. He can't wait for this to be done. He wants to do a victory lap, and not to embarrass anybody involved in anything else, but he is an elected official, and we're looking at all these comments where everybody 100% certain, or not everybody, but some people certain that, you know, they know the facts of this case. And I know someone said they read every bit. Even if you read all 160 pages of the filings, you don't have all the facts, because there's a whole bunch that you don't have, such as this thing that I'm holding here, which is a deposition. You didn't get this. This was not released. It was not in the PACER. So everybody thinking you know the facts, you don't. And that's why I'm saying, you know, you really have to withhold judgment, because we speak on things that are premature. Used to be a time the media didn't report something like this until it was completed. Now we're reporting them early. It is what it is. It's the time we live in.
Okay. Ray's deposition is in PACER. I don't know.
This is not Ray's deposition that I'm holding.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's not Ray's deposition that I'm holding.
Okay.
Good media thing, though. You wanted to know which one I was holding. See how I didn't answer, Allan?
Well, thanks, Kevin. We're going to have you back, bro. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
Kevin, my son said Kevin is doing a great job. So you're earning every penny that you're getting. You did a good job. Great job.
And you got 2 pensions. I need to borrow some for Detroit and Black and White.
Take care now.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. That was a pretty interesting interview. We have
that was good.
A lot of comments. And I like the fact that one of our regular commenters decided to join the conversation. He decided to come on in the room. Listen, we really appreciate you guys. We try to acknowledge everyone. Sometimes we get to some of you, sometimes we don't. This is a very spirited conversation. I'm sure we're going to revisit it again. If we did not get to your comment, it's not because we could, it was because we could not. It's not because we were ignoring you. It was a very heated conversation. So
I just want to say something real quick. You know, different people have different ways of addressing their concerns or whatever. And not to, I don't know the whole Erica Erickson story, but I can tell you, when I was at the Detroit News, some politician told one of our reporters he wished that me and Norm Sinclair were working on a story, wished that we were dead. I called a friend at the U.S. Attorney's Office and said, look, I don't want you to do anything about this, but if I end up dead, I want you to know who made that threat. And then that person said, you want the U.S. Attorney to look into it? I said, no. The U.S. Attorney did call me and said, you want us to investigate? I said, no, I'm not. I just want you to be put on notice that if something happens to me, I end up dead. And I always felt like at the workplace, I would address directly to the person that I felt aggrieved or whatever. And I didn't go complaining.
Well, at least you had people listen to you. U.S. Attorney, I got spit on up in Kalamazoo and threatened and stuff. Went to make a complaint, and the police wouldn't take it. The small town politics. This was South Haven, you know. So yeah. So at least you had somebody. Journalists get caught up in a whole lot of shit sometimes. Not like they used to be, because there's not too many journalists left in Detroit. That's my opinion. You know, we got folks on online acting as journalists, and they'll write and they get published, regardless of you got 3 or 4 sources, and they don't need 3 or 4 sources like they used to.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, I can't blame the sheriff's office for, you know, fighting back. We'll see how it play out.
Yeah.
You know,
I give
failed.
Kevin gets kudos for coming on, particularly a day after that Ross Jones report came out. I think he gets a lot of credit for coming on.
Can I answer a question?
Go ahead, Jim.
First, Dorian, thank you for coming on. No, it never happened to me. I was never charged or never investigated for sexual harassment or assault or anything in my police department. So there's my answer that you asked about. Ramona Joyce Prater talked about her window, and she was there. Look, I wasn't defending anybody. I understand, and I understand all the young ladies on the show that have been faced with the consequences of going to work and having to play that little game to make it through the day, and it makes me sick. It's still there. It was always there. It was there in the 80s and the 70s, and it's there now. I'm not making excuses for anybody that behaves that way. I have no regard for that.
Well, I'll tell you, when I first went to work for Coleman Young, back when I was like in my 20s, first thing they talked about before you even went on the job, women, men, women working together is a no-no. All this other stuff, you know, and the mayor was real tough on folks because you had people who had relationships, they fall out, they bring it to the workplace, then they start suing. I named 4 or 5 lawsuits from folks you probably know. They had to settle for $200,000, $300,000, and we're talking about 30, 40 years ago, because of sexual harassment. You know, it's still there, and people still suing. You know,
nobody should have to balance their job and harassment.
Yeah, you know, no question about it.
Miss Suzuki, Eric Brown made comments. True sensation, a good friend of the show. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I tried to get through it. Thank you all for your thoughts. Thank you, Ira. Cornelius Jones said he never met a Detroit police officer that cared about the community, and you know, I take exception to that because I know some of those guys, and
we got a police chief that care about the community right now. Our friend Todd Madison. I just want to say that Allan, that was a pretty good story in Deadline on what's happening in the sheriff's department. I don't know if you got beat up on it or whatever, but hey, I thought it was fair.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah. So before we go, I think we will be remiss without acknowledging the life of Jesse Jackson. I posted in our chat my memory of Jesse Jackson was not only I Am Somebody, not only Push, but in 1984, when he ran for president, I was a student at Wayne State University, and I was part of a group of students who reactivated the Black Pre-Law Association, which had been defunct for over a decade. And we organized a voters registration drive. And he was the guest speaker. So I was standing there and not realizing, as a very young woman, I was over the age of 18, but not 21, that I was standing next to, not only am I somebody, but I was standing with, I am somebody, Mr. Jesse Jackson. So my hat goes off to him. All of us, there's nobody here on this earth that has not had some cloudy days, and maybe sometimes our judgment was questioned, but he contributed a lot to the world, and in particularly to the United States of America.
Well, I debated him at the DoubleTree Hotel at a little conference, because I was saying that John Conyers, the late John Conyers, time was up. He was slow. He needed to not run again, and Jesse Jackson came over to me and said, "Oh no, brother, we gotta have him. I know he's slow. I know he's getting old, but what Congress person office that you can just go there without an appointment and he'll see you and all this other stuff." I didn't have an answer for that because I'm looking at now. We got the folks that took Kanye's spot. They don't even talk to their folks. They don't do shit. You know, their agenda. One's agenda is in the Gaza Strip. The other agenda, I don't know. His agenda is he won't let you know he came over here with $20 in his pocket. So, yeah, Jesse was right on that one. You know, as hard as it is, yeah, I do miss John Conyers because you could go if you was in D.C. or if he was in Detroit, you can go right up to his office, and if he was there, he would meet with you. You know, how many politicians can you say that would do something like that? Not many.
When I was a reporter, I was doing an internship with the investigative columnist Jack Anderson. I would stop up on Capitol Hill. I would stop in his office, and we would just sit around and chat. And during the strike, the Detroit News, he was out front with us.
Yeah, so Jesse was right on that one. He was right. I said, well, you're right, Reverend Jackson. He said, but I know what you're talking about, brother. You know, so yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that was a good show. I thank all the folks that tune in on this Wednesday night, and thank our guest, Kevin Talbot, Vanessa. Thank you, Allan Lengel, and Jim Nardone, and Teresa for making this happen. And we'll be back on Friday, same time.
All right.